Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our last mid NFL midweek wrap up edition of the podcast.
Of the
John,
regular
of
season.
the regular
Yes.
season,
Yes.
we'll, we will have one for next season. Because,
Yeah.
but Michael, this is our first. I guess this is our first midweek show. But uh, yeah, man, this is John, joined once again by the main man himself, Michelangelo. Michael, um, the thing I didn't want to happen Sunday, happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lions, they do their part. They shocked us. I'm sure they shocked a lot of people. They went into Chicago and they won a game. Jared Goff actually played quite well in the cold, and field goals traded galore, and the Lions win off a walk-off field goal at the simultaneous moment as the Eagles do not convert on 4th and 3, which ultimately, they did get one more drive with no timeouts, but that was certainly a much better opportunity to score in plus territory, and they ultimately lose and lock themselves into the 3 seed with the loss. So, all the work was done for them, they just had to do their part, and they did not come through. The backups did not come through, the coaching staff did not come through, and they lost to career backup Josh Johnson, playing honestly one of the best games of his career, I'm sure. And, you know, we'll finish talking about the Eagles game honestly right now. There's no point not to. Our two depth corners, CB4 and CB5 of Keely Ringo and Jacorian Bennett, just had a very poor games each. I can't think of more than one good coverage rep each from them, I'd say, committing bad obvious penalty after bad obvious penalty after bad obvious penalty, giving the Commanders some great field position and some touchdowns essentially by giving them said great field position. So, you know, it wasn't obviously the backups are in there, but the Commanders also had backups in there. However, their starters definitely shined, and our backups just did not play well.
Yeah, obviously, the Fangio defense is so nuanced that guys that get it versus guys that don't. The guys that don't, they're just Michael. It's like some of the worst football you'll ever see.
Yeah, I mean, I felt they were in a pretty good position most of the game. I did think up front they were a little soft as Jordan Davis. Really the only Jomo got some rep, but like not a ton of reps up front from the main guys, and they got pushed around. But as far as passes go, I feel like Josh Johnson wasn't throwing to that many wide open guys as much as it was just marginally open because they can get open on our weak corners, or they were committing penalties. So frustrating to say the least.
yeah, I mean Terry McLaurin, when healthy, is a really good wide receiver. Michael and Debo Samuel.
Debo's had a great year for Washington, all things considered. One of their few bright spots of the year, I'd say.
I mean
Definitely
Debo
look faster.
in that scheme. I mean he knows how to be effective. I mean
He's such a better fit for them than what De'Ami Brown was last year.
72 catches, 727 yards with
How many
inconsistent quarterback
games?
play, 17 carries for 75 yards,
How many games?
16 games.
Okay, wow, he really was like healthy all year. Um, yeah, I mean it's a really solid season, and you could only imagine how much better the numbers would have been, had they been healthy or just been a better team. But regardless, Eagles lose 3 seed. They will be playing the San Francisco 49ers. Um, and you can just hope Lane Johnson's going to play, which the signs I think are in a good spot, but he does need to practice. And then you just hope that, they will get into more of actual game talk later in the week. But, you just hope that Jalen is able to run the ball and have some effectiveness there to kind of ease up everything that is wrong with them at the moment on offense. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: should we just talk about Black Monday and then go into like just recap the games, I think, and go over each firing. Is that
Yeah, we should get into Black Monday, and we just got the Eagles game out of the way there. So yeah, handful of coaches got the axe this Monday and even Sunday night. We'll start with the
and then
first
today?
coach to get fired. Yeah, Raheem Morris, relieved of his duties of
And their
the Atlanta
GM as
Falcons
well.
and their GM. Total clean house effort. Um, yeah, I this is a tough one because if you would have asked me this at like various parts of the last couple years, I would have been like, yeah, sure. And like I can still see it to an extent, but I don't know, man. I just feel like the way that defense really came along and the rookies all started playing better and like it seemed like Raheem Morris put together a pretty solid defense. I guess, just a matter of those other like the biggest thing we always felt with the Falcons is it just kind of looked like they were rolling over. They looked like they were quitting on like a regular basis. And there was clearly some frustration that Drake London was showcasing during the game, catching touchdowns, but being pissed off. Um, so, I don't know how much that does involve Raheem Morris and if that was part of the reason, but
I
if
suspect that the Falcons, because they're going to hire Matt Ryan to be their team president, I have a suspicion if the Eagles knock off San Francisco this weekend, that I mean Kyle Shanahan. I'm gonna look up Kyle Shanahan's contract.
I mean, I would be pretty shocked
He's
if
entering the final year of his contract after this season.
yeah, I'd be pretty shocked if Kyle Shanahan is coaching anywhere but San Francisco. Um, even if they lose, like you have every excuse built up in the world, to be honest with you. Like your two best defensive players, two top defensive players, like in all of football, have been
Oh,
out virtually
oh,
all
I'm
year.
not
Like,
saying this as a they want to fire Shanahan. It's just that the Niners are infamous for how like they basically ran Harbaugh away because he wanted more money and control. And Shanahan, like Shanahan's going to want to be the highest paid coach in the NFL, and I'm not sure the Niners, who are notoriously cheap, would want to
I mean, if
pony
that's
up.
the case, that would be a pretty big failure there. But regardless,
I
what San
mentioned
Francisco
The
does,
Matt Ryan Shanahan connection. Matt Ryan won an MVP when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta. And like you look at how Atlanta's built, I mean, they're kind of already barring quarterback. I mean, they're kind of pre-built for Shanahan to come in there and to be, win the NFC South.
I do think that the 49ers and Shanahan's scheme offensively would be very well suited for what the Falcons have the personnel to be. Um, having a quarterback that could hopefully, push the ball vertically out of a play action style offense and a run heavy offense. Like you already have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, and that offensive line is solid. Then you got London, and like you figure out whatever you end up doing with Kyle Pitts, and it's like those are two very, very viable receiving threats.
And they'll make
Sh-
additions, obviously, but
Yeah, but it's just like it's really just the quarterback is a problem. That you drafted a guy top 10 that you don't know how good he is, and you have, while
I mean,
restructured,
you had
most
Mac
expensive
Jones.
backup ever.
I mean, you had Mac Jones throwing to backups, put up 30 points against the Rams. I would just let Kyle Shanahan figure out the quarterback
I
position,
mean, that's just to say if they get Kyle Shanahan, it's a very big if.
assuming that's the case. I'm just
That's
saying.
a big
I'm throwing that as like a
a
hot take,
hypothetical. Yeah.
as a hypothetical. I mean, realistically, I think it's going to be Clint Kubiak, Shanahan Jr. Essentially.
It'll depend on who's running the show because, if they get some sort of geezer in there or something, that could be John Harbaugh territory. Not to leak the big prize, but anyways, other
Nice,
coaches to get
nice.
the to get the axe. Pete Carroll of the Las Vegas Raiders. He was relieved of his duties,
Are
one
you
and done out
surprised
there
by
in
that?
Vegas. Not now, not after seeing all the stuff come out. I thought Pete Carroll was a nice fit, a guy that kind of, you think about what he did in Seattle and how that was such a vibe change, and like he came in and totally like inspired a whole good, strong era of Seahawks
I mean,
football.
that was like
And
15 years ago.
Well, I understand that, but it's like, look at Jim Harbaugh. That was also 15 years ago, him being
Oh, I
this
mean, like Pete
inspiring new
Carroll's like the
guy.
oldest NFL head coach
I
since
understand.
like
I know, but I'm just saying, like hiring a veteran retread for an organization that's pretty much in ruin and disarray to kind of bail you out. And you look at what the Chargers did, and Jim Harbaugh seems to be working out there. They were in some shit. They got Herbert, but they couldn't find good coach to marry him with, and stumbles along Jim Harbaugh, works out. I think the Raiders were trying to muster some of that similar success out of him, and clearly some huge internal issues. Players were having secret meetings because they felt like they couldn't talk how it was, you know, around some of the coaches, said coach being Pete Carroll's son. So real mess there. Definitely, I think worth cleaning house and getting a new crack at a regime change because it wasn't working out. So Pete Carroll done.
all right, well, let's go on to our next one here. I believe it is well, let's just talk. You defend this guy a lot. It's the Browns fired Kevin Stefanski. I'm a little surprised they fired Kevin Stefanski.
I think when you frame it in a way that it's like, okay, he's been here for how many years now? Like 5, roughly. I think 6 maybe. And each of the last, like, 4 years, the biggest issue with the team has been the offense, and he is the orchestrator of the offense. When you frame it in a way like that, it kinda makes sense no matter who you're talking about. It's kinda just if the Rams went through a period of, like, bottom 5 offenses for, like, 4 years in a row, I think the Rams, even though McVay's been a great coach for them, they might look and be like, "Okay, maybe the coach lost a step." And I think they just were ready for something new in Cleveland, and I don't know if that's like a Shador rift or if that even played a factor in this, who knows? But I do think that's a pretty solid coach that's on the market, and I think a division rival could be interested in making a call.
I think I'm a little surprised they're keeping Andrew Barry.
Me too. Me too. I think I do listen to what some Browns fans say, and they do say that how the Deshaun Watson and Shador stuff that was like all Jimmy Haslam, and when Andrew Barry was given full reins of a couple drafts, he like nailed them. So I don't know.
I feel
I
like
I think he
I,
probably should have gone too. I do think he should have been fired as well.
I'll be honest, and I think listen, the Browns are picking, I believe,
5, I think.
sixth. I think
6.
this year they're picking sixth. So if they do want to go quarterback, they're not going to get Dante Moore if he comes out, or
I mean,
obviously
unless they
Mac.
trade up, they do have. Oh no, never mind. They don't. I thought they do. They have
No, they
multiple
had the
first
Jags first.
rounders. Yeah, they do have multiple first rounders. So
Problem is that
if they
Jags
wanted to,
first
they could
rounders
move up a
not
few
as
spots.
enticing as it was when they made the trade. On
Still
draft
first round pick. Teams will value it. Um, but there's something. I mean, you could definitely make some calls. But it'll be interesting to see what the Browns do from here. I don't think Brian Flores would like want to go coach a team like the Browns. I think he is going to be more desired from some better teams, perhaps like Baltimore, where he'd be more inclined to want to go there than to go to a team that already has a good defense that doesn't need much there, especially if the new coordinator or the new head coach is going to be fine with keeping Jim Schwartz. And Miles Garrett's still Miles Garrett. I think they're going to need to hire someone offensively. I don't think they're going to even toe the waters in a defensive-minded head coach.
Well, I just also think too, like Jim Schwartz has never expressed wanting to be a head coach since he was fired by the
No, it's like Vic Fangio. Like
Lions.
it's there's
Right,
no
like exactly like Fangio,
Spags too.
Spags as well. I don't know for Cleveland. This is the thing is like Dude, Shador fell in the draft because he evidently may have rubbed some coaches the wrong way.
By just being, I think just being a little confident kid, and
That's
you
what
know,
that's what I said. I agree with you, Michael. It's more of a confidence thing, but I also think too, like this is where like firing Andrew Berry makes sense. If you're a coach and you want to go to Cleveland, the GM's probably gonna get fired in a year or two. That means you're gonna get fired in a year or two, unless you win games.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's not a desirable spot because they just need like they had the offensive line used to not be a total disaster in Cleveland. That was like part of why they won a playoff game 5 years ago because the O
Yeah,
line was pretty
yeah,
steady and they
Baker
could
could
run the
hold the ball
ball.
for like 15 seconds, and
Even
then
even a couple years ago when Flacco gave them a run to make the playoffs, the offensive line was good enough to keep Flacco upright. It wasn't amazing, but it was good enough, and Nick Chubb was running well. So all you needed was just a good defense, and you were all right. And now the offensive line's kind of finally fallen off, and you're in a bind where you have a really good defense, but some of the worst offense
I think right now, if Kevin
ever.
Stefanski is going to want to be a head coach again next year, my
I like
guess
Baltimore.
for Stefanski, Baltimore,
I think that could be a good fit. But it's tough because you can go 2 angles. I think the Ravens might have their pick of the 2 top head coaching candidates that
it would
seemingly
be so Cleveland for Stefanski to go to Baltimore
win a Super Bowl.
and win a Super Bowl. That would be the most
I
Cleveland
think the
outcome.
2 highest desired coaches for Baltimore are gonna be Stefanski and Brian Flores.
I was going to say actually my
For
prediction for
Stefanski.
Stefanski because he is a local guy. He's from like the Northeast. He went to St. Joe's Prep.
I actually, I
I'm
have a
thinking
friend who's cousins with Coach Kevin Stefanski.
I'm thinking the Giants. The Giants
I
make
would
a
They
ton
have an
of
interview
stuff.
with him already for tomorrow, right? So, I do think that is a good fit as well.
I
On
mean,
like,
don't you have to question if you're Cleveland? We fired a coach and he's already being interviewed to be a head coach in like less than 48 hours.
yeah, listen, no one says they do things right, so, um,
That's my thing is that
some
you look
bad
at the
teams stay
Giants.
bad, you know?
I mean, if you're the Giants, I mean, like if you actually like, let's just health wise for the Giants, Jackson Dart, Kevin Stefanski. I'm sure he would probably love working with Jackson Dart.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised at some point in this past draft Cleveland wanted to take Jackson Dart maybe like in the second round. That's probably why the Giants
Well,
traded up in the first place,
yeah.
you know? And Malik Neighbors is kind of be coming off an injury, but he's still like an incredibly talented player. I know you freaking hate Scattaboo, but he's a solid running back.
We'll see how that ankle looks,
I
but
think, but like, I think that's the kind of running back. Stefanski wants a running back that can run it between the tackles.
yeah, I mean, I
And
think
Tyrone Tracy's not a bad number two
oh,
running back
listen, the
either.
Giants, you don't have to convince me that the Giants is a favorable situation because, if you like Dart, good for you, you got him, and then right, neighbors, and they're gonna be picking in the top 5
So
with the chance.
they'll probably take an offensive lineman.
Yeah, that or they could take Carnell Tate and build a really solid receiver duo and, get dynamic that way. They could do
They're
a
probably
lot
going
of
to do something
things.
dumb and throw like $20+ million at Alec Pierce.
Regardless, whatever they do,
Alec
they're in a good
Pierce,
spot.
Scatterboo, and Jackson Dart.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, Stefanski is definitely going to be desired. The next coach that got canned that we wanted to discuss is oh, okay. We have an old friend, Jonathan Gannon, got the axe from the Arizona Cardinals. That tenure has dried up. Um, just
Pew,
bad
pew, pew,
football.
pew, 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 pew,
Bad, yeah,
pew, pew,
bad
pew.
football for years now. Like last year, they were a popular dark horse this year to be like, they could maybe sneak in and Kyler's healthy, all this sort of stuff. And the defense was just awful, and that's your job. You're the defense guy, and he had some issues with players on the sidelines. It all just feels like it didn't work out, and
That team completely unraveled when he put his hands on Amari DiMercato after that,
for sure.
after he pulled a Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, no, the vibe shifted. Players definitely stopped. It seemed like they just kind of stopped caring
But
generally,
dude,
and
if you look at the Cardinals right now, they're picking third in the draft. Man, like
I do think that bodes better for Kyler. I
I
don't
think
think
he does too, and
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why. Can I bring up? I don't want to bring up the draft. I think it does depend on like maybe how they go about with coach, or because obviously like listen, as bad as the Raiders' jobs does seem after this year, the head coach is going to get Mendoza, right? That's
Whoever they
appealing.
want.
That's appealing because if you're a prospective head coach and you're like, man, I just want to coach, man, I want to be the guy that makes Mendoza like the next like an all-time Raider great. I want him to be the best quarterback in a storied franchise history. Like that's gonna be like my mission, like there's something there. But man, like because the Cardinals are picking third, I can't see Dante Moore like entering the draft and being like, I do not want the Jets to pick me. If the Jets pick me, I will not go play for the New York
I
Jets.
mean, I just don't know. Like, I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do at the draft. I really don't. It all depends on the coach. But we think that it's a good. The firing is probably good for Kyler. I don't think Gannon is going to be getting a head coaching job as his next gig. I think he's going to go be a D coordinator again, probably. Who knows where, but definitely feels like he's getting a DC gig.
I have a very good idea where I think he could be a D coordinator at.
Hmm.
Well, do you want to go over the coordinator firings after we go through, or do you want to
I mean,
just keep going? Let's
we
just
got
keep
one
going
more head
further. The
coach. We got
Cowboys
one more
fired
head
Matt
coach.
Eberflus today.
Oh, okay.
Shocker. Bang. Right there.
That's where you think Gannon's going.
Oh, yeah, because the Cowboys are like the Eagles' little brother. Oh,
I see the
oh,
angle.
the Eagles hired Kellen Moore from us and they won the Super Bowl. We're going to hire Jonathan
Jonathan
Gannon.
Gannon. I mean, I could see it. It's so cartoonishly childish that I could see it. I'd be intrigued. I would totally be intrigued. Like he's just his general philosophy. I don't know. He probably needs to reshape some things about the way he conducts his business because he just can't be putting hands on players and like that doesn't play. And he was obviously a hot commodity to become a head coach, and the mistakes kind of got exposed with a lesser than roster, and this is what you kind of end up with. So yeah, maybe Dallas. Other coordinator jobs opened up. There will be other coordinator jobs that do open up too, with new head coaches. Maybe want to bring them in on the staff. We'll see. But yeah, um, Gannon done. The last head coach that got canned, we've already alluded to, but he got fired today on Tuesday. John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens. They did it. They actually did it.
They,
They actually
they had to
pulled the
sleep
trigger.
on it for a night.
They did. They slept on it. They slept on it. I'm sure they talked to the players, and they got enough
You see the
information to
game
they'll
those
what?
of the goalpost with a missed field goal where it
I
was
did see
like
that.
Harbaugh fired, Tomlin fired, Harbaugh fired.
Yeah, and it's proud. Who knows what would happen in Pittsburgh, but I don't think it's whatever. Uh, Gannon though, or not Gannon, Harbaugh. It was about time, man. It was about time. You see Ravens fans that trying not to be too reactionary about it. Where obviously you scroll through Ravens Twitter, you would have thought they won the Super Bowl the way the fans are celebrating right now. Um, but he definitely the Ravens have only had 3 coaches in their franchise, and he spent the last 18 years here. So it's definitely long tenured.
Well, he's the
Won one
best coach
Super
in Ravens
Bowl.
history.
Yeah, sure. So he's deserves the flowers, but it was definitely overdue
He
at this
was the
point,
head coach
probably.
for like half their existence since they became the Baltimore Ravens. But
Yeah, exactly. So he has a lot of wins under his belt, but the message definitely went stale out there. And it'll be interesting, very interesting to see where where he ends up, what his next job's gonna be. Is it gonna just be a head coach? Is he gonna be I don't know what he would coordinate. He never really was
he's
a
not going to go back being a special teams
right,
coordinator.
right. So he would I wouldn't be shocked if he takes the year off. That's usually kind of what these coaches have been doing. I don't think he would go to college. I don't think he's got that energy to recruit or whatever like his brother. Um, but I'm sure some teams would be willing to call. I don't know, maybe I don't think the Giants would be that silly, but you never know. If they think he's some wise whatever. I guess the best angle for him, he just got fired too, would be what Pete Carroll brought to Seattle. And I guess what Jim Harbaugh brought to the Chargers is that some team might think that John Harbaugh can rejuvenate and fix vibes somewhere. Um, and maybe Tennessee, would that I think that'd be a terrible hire in Tennessee, but I don't know. It depends how
Well, geez,
bad they're being
Tennessee's
run.
bringing in
They're bringing in Jason Garrett, and
like just
oof,
just just fold up the franchise at that point, bro.
yeah, because that's a huge the they're all right. Well, let's talk about Baltimore. The biggest job open, like this is a huge hire for the Ravens. Harbaugh being gone, they're out of his mind. It's really they need to nail this hiring more than anything. And you can go two directions. You can go with a defensive mind to help fix your defense because you let Mike McDonald walk out the building and he brought all the good defense with him. And they couldn't, they,
Well,
you know,
yes, but at the same time, dude, you look at the Ravens like roster though, like their corner situation. Like Marlon Humphrey stinks.
yeah, but you talk about maximizing talent and
Matt
Mike,
Wake
like,
is probably done
I
career
mean,
wise.
what Mike McDonald's scheme defensively in Baltimore was different than what it was in Seattle because he can curate it based on the roster that he has. In Baltimore, it was all about sending these exotic blitzes and Patrick Queen, or excuse me, Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton, each alternating who's coming, and it was totally confusing quarterbacks, and it was brutal. And now in Seattle, it's a lot more of that traditional. We're aggressive as hell, but we're gonna only rush four and just wreak havoc on you. And I think Baltimore can go two Pats on trying to get a defensive guy to just replicate some of the juice that they're missing out and trust that
I'm
any
I'm
OC
I'm
can get it done.
rethinking. I'm rethinking if the Flores is a good fit for Baltimore from this perspective. Is the impression I got from Flores? He's very much Belichickian in how he acts. Like he's like, you better show up to be obsessed about football because if you're not, like, I don't want you here, sort of vibe. Like but he maximizes the talent that he has. You look at Baltimore. I just never got the vibe. I think a lot of guys were just checked out and just didn't want to listen to Harbaugh. It's going to be like a culture shock for them, I think, to have like Brian Flores in there and like I don't know, man. Like he
You
might.
don't think it could be the opposite effect? Like, look at the
I don't know
Eagles
what the effect would
defense.
be because
You
like
look at you talk about a culture shock. Look at the Eagles defense pre and post Fangio. Before Fangio, the defense was like mopey. It was always in the
but
wrong
they've made
place.
a
Everything
bunch of
terrible.
changes though. That's the thing.
But they also a lot of their guys that were there drafted, you saw their personalities start to flourish with a guy like Fangio, where they're like they love his physical
But that's
attitude
the
and that
defense. I was thinking
nastiness.
more about the offense,
Well, then you wouldn't hire Flores. Yeah.
because you look at Zay Flowers and like if he's just gonna be like if he's gonna show up late to practice or something or miss a meeting, or fall asleep in a meeting.
Was he missing meetings?
I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not. I'm
Oh,
or he is,
oh.
But I'm saying, like, like Lamar to me, it feels like Lamar needs like there needs to be an offensive head coach who's gonna like want like Lamar to flourish and make him feel comfortable. And I don't know if Brian Flores is the coach that's gonna make Lamar feel comfortable. I think he might be the coach that's gonna be like, you know, you need to make plays and win us
Like a
games.
kick in the ass. It'll be interesting because I see Ravens fans say that they would want a guy like Flores because they think this team needs a kick in the ass. They think this team got
That's the
soft.
thing. Like
They think
Lamar
this
is
team
basically
got
like a
content.
better version of Donovan McNabb. He's a better version of Donovan. Where Donovan was mopey. That's why like Andy Reid was like a good coach because he was used to handling like he knew how to handle personalities. Like you saw it happen when Donovan went to the Redskins, the then Redskins, now Commanders. He got benched because he was moping with old man, grumpy old man Mike Shanahan, and he just got fed up with him.
While I don't disagree necessarily, I also think that since it's an like Lamar was kind of teetering on that now. And I think part of it was because being just fed up with John Harbaugh. Where you get a new coach in there, I think that could be rejuvenating no matter who it
I
is. Like,
mean,
if Brian Flores
if
is
I
in
was
there
running the
demanding
Ravens head
greatness,
coaching search, if I wanted Brian Flores, I would bring him in and be like, okay, how are you going to handle like Lamar and like Derrick Henry, like offensive personalities? Remember, Flores was the guy who was like, Tua sucks. I don't
that's what I'm saying. Like,
like.
he was right about
Of
what he
course, he
was
was
doing
right,
in
but like
Miami.
that's the thing though is like he's gonna say, okay, like okay, you say Tua sucks. All right, who do you want? Oh, I don't know, but I don't want Tua. He sucks. Like
I mean,
that's the thing.
they went over his head
I
into
mean, you
Tua.
hammer the fact home that you don't want DC being head coach. You've said that in the past. I know you said that in the past for that reason. It's like when it comes to offense, it's like they want nothing to do with it. They're like,
Yeah, you gotta find the right guy. Like, you gotta find Mike McDonald, for example. Like, you gotta nail it. And I think Mike McDonald has that personality, and I don't know. I think Flores would definitely like another crack at the head coaching gig, considering how the whole issue with Miami went down. But I don't know. I think Baltimore is going to have their options. I think uh, Flores or Stefanski would be good fits. I think Stefanski could be a good fit, thinking about a running offense and pounding the football. And you see, he's been able to maximize some when the receiving core was like Jarvis Landry and like the like um end of days Odell Beckham, we saw the Browns were able to move the ball and be effective with a good running game too. So I'd like to think with a quarterback like Lamar, you could definitely get some more out of the offense. But yeah, the last thing we want to talk about regarding firings is the entire NFC East coordinator base is gone. Both coordinators out in New York, both coordinators out in Washington,
Flyers.
and an offensive line coach, and Dallas firing Eberflus. I'm not sure who their OC is, but
Does
Schottenheimer calls the
Brian
play.
Johnson not get fired?
No, he didn't get fired.
Which means he's
But
probably
like,
gonna be the new OC.
well, I wouldn't say that with certainty. It's one of those things where like, you
Evidently,
know,
Jaden Daniels is not happy that Cliff got let go.
that's what. Yeah, I saw that too. And like, not for nothing, I think I would be too, but I think at the same time, I don't think he got fired. I think they parted ways. I think he asked out. I think he didn't feel he was gonna have a I don't know if he wants to become a head coach again, that I don't think he thinks the opportunity was gonna get any better. I think that's honestly jumping ship before it gets ugly. And it was already really ugly this season, and I think he
That's kind of scummy.
I mean, it's scummy, but I think at this point he doesn't care. He's like, "Listen, look what I did his rookie year, and look how great the offense was, and we didn't replenish like the offensive line adequately enough, and you didn't get me a running back, and you know, Jaden Daniels kept getting hurt. What was I supposed to do?" And he's looking at the outlook for next year, like, it's not looking too great on offense. I'm getting out of here. That's how I honestly viewed that because it didn't say they fire Cliff Kingsbury. It's like Cliff Kingsbury wanted out and got out.
I think Cliff. I wonder if Cliff is angling maybe for the Alabama job when that opens up
Hmm.
potentially, or a big time college job where I gotta be honest, man. I'm not. You showed me the Cliff Kingsbury flow chart before. We've seen it. He
That is
kind of
funny.
he went from step one to step two. He didn't want to go to step three with the Commanders. I think that was a preservation move to still make him attractive for a big
Hmm.
job.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see at that point. But uh yeah. So commander the all those teams coordinators are done. Just showing the dysfunction of it all and how they're
And
gonna
maybe
have to
one more
revamp.
if a certain team fails to win on Sunday.
Well, that's certainly a thought, but it's definitely
We'll
not
talk
not
about
true.
that. We'll
So
talk about that
Saturday,
this time next week, maybe.
so Saturday we had two games,
Mm.
two big
I
games.
think we should talk two games together because we could talk about what wound up happening
Sure, sure. So the Buccaneers ended up defeating the Carolina Panthers and putting themselves.
in a very dubious fashion. Because listen, the NFL, I think, wanted that Saints Falcons game to matter.
Of course, yeah.
So the officiating was so one sided towards Tampa that
Uh,
listen,
no.
like it was just bad, man.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, there were some big plays, but at the same time, like I thought Baker played pretty well. It was very rainy. Um, and like Carolina is also just bad, dude. Like they're just not good. Bryce Young, it's like 11 of his 12 wins have been like fourth quarter come from behind victories or something ridiculous where it's like if games fourth quarters were only 10 minutes long, Bryce Young might only have like one win in his career. Like it's
Well,
just
the games aren't 45 minutes long.
no, but it matters how you play in the first three quarters too,
Oh no, it
man. Like,
does. I'm just saying.
would I rather you be
I mean,
dog shit for three and a half
I think
quarters?
they're a work in progress. Like, come on, man.
I just don't think they're very good. Like they're
No, they're not good. Not at all. I'm just saying.
no,
Like,
and like I'm not, I like Bryce Young, but I'm definitely like
bro,
far
18
from
months ago,
sold
this
on
was the
him.
worst team in football.
Yeah,
Look how
and
far they've come.
sure, sure. They won some listen, they won some gritty games against some good teams. They clearly have some sort of juice, but we see how important their running game was because as Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, like, both kind of struggled a bit and the offensive line really started struggling, all of a sudden, they can't win a game, like, to save
They
their
look like
lives.
they've just ran out of gas.
Yeah, I mean, like, so much of the offense was reliant on, um, checkdowns and running the ball and screen passes and just getting the ball out and not taking negative plays, and it's because Dowdle was making a ton of crazy plays. Rico Dowdle was like, "Oh, this fantasy steal," like, he was so good, and as the year went on, he just slowed up and the offense went down with him where
What's happens? I mean,
they
it's
can't
funny.
sustain a game of offense.
It's funny if you play like a sports trivia game. You're gonna look at like 1,000 yard rushers, and it's like Rico Dowdle has had back-to-back 1,000 yard seasons.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, he gets his touches. Early in the season, he was great, and it fell off in Carolina. So we're talking about the Panthers so much because the Saints and Falcons took place Monday or Sunday, and the winner was going to determine the division winner. If the Falcons won, Carolina would get in, and if the Saints won, the Buccaneers would get in. And lo and behold, the Atlanta Falcons came out victorious, and the Carolina Panthers, by virtue of a three-way tie, won the NFC South and will get the reward of hosting the Los Angeles Rams in the wild card round. But, like, the Panthers, I think, are by far the worst team in the field. Maybe I shouldn't yeah,
Oh, they are.
maybe I shouldn't say totally by far. They're definitely the worst team in the field. It's just a matter of how much better or worse they are than, I'd say, the Steelers. And the Steelers are definitely a little bit better. They would definitely be favored in that game. But Carolina is just I think they're about where a lot of people expected them to be, right around 500, a little under, and that just happened to be enough to win the division. Like, usually 8 and 9 is not enough to win your division, especially losing the last 2 games of the season to get there, and it was in a rare case. It's always fun when something like this occurs, and we'll see when they're playing off just nothing but will and hopes and dreams on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick though, too. Even though the Saints lost, the takeaway I think from this game to me is that Tyler Shuck had another good game, Michael.
Yeah, he was solid. He was
And I have,
solid
I
again.
mean, dude, if you look at the box score, I implore people to pull up the box score from this game because, I mean, Tyler Shuck was handing the ball up to Audric Estime, who was on the Eagles practice squad like 3.5 months ago. The leading receiver was Jawan Johnson. And then, bro, Dante Pettis, who I totally forgot was still in the NFL.
Yeah.
Did you
No,
know he was
yeah.
still in the NFL? I didn't know he was still in the NFL.
I found it out. But yeah, Shuck was solid, man. It'll be interesting to see the Saints can get him some more weaponry to work with. See what Kellen Moore's cooking down there.
Yeah, I'm just listen. Michael, I this wasn't like the false hope that like Will Levis gave Titans fans 2 years ago.
No,
Similar
no,
situation.
this has
He's
a little
got
more
way more
juice.
juice.
Yeah, yeah.
Way more juice. He's going to be a sexy pick, I think, in fantasy drafts where people who do like the no QBs thing, like I'm going to wait till the end to take a QB. Like he's going to be the guy that everyone people that employ that strategy are going. He's like going to be their guy.
Mhm, mhm.
Oh, the Saints are still bad. He's going to be throwing tons of passes. He gets all these yards. He can
Runs.
he sort of runs. Like he had two.
He
Like
runs. He can scramble. He can move. So yeah, but anyways, enough about the Saints. Um, Tampa, shocked they haven't fired Todd Bowles yet. Are you also surprised they haven't fired Todd Bowles yet? He was kind of pleading for his job in his uh like exit interview, saying, "Oh, I've won the division 3 times," and yada yada yada.
I think the reason he still has his job is that Jason Licht, their GM, who I think is a pretty good GM,
Hmm.
dude. Like you're trotting out 36-year-old Levante David every week. He looks cooked. Like they have no edge rushers. Their corners are bad. Like as much as I like, listen, I think Todd Bowles is a good coach. I just think that
I don't think he's a good coach. I think his schemes are bad. I think
you
his
think his
shtick
teams are
of just
outdated.
it's just blitz. It's literally just like, "I'm gonna blitz all the time, and you're gonna know it's coming every time." And, like, they almost first of all, they have lost games this way, but they almost lost, uh, because on 4th down and long, they show the all-out blitz, they send the all-out blitz, and all the play is just Tet McMillan, "Get open downfield, I'm floating it up to you," and it's exactly what occurred. It was Bryce Young took 3 steps, lofted it, he beat the corner, and he drops it in a bucket, and a better throw, it's a touchdown, but a couple plays later, the Panthers score, and it's like, I he's been doing that for how long? And you expect it to still surprise teams, you know what I mean? Like, we all know it's coming. We all know what you're running on a big 3rd down or a big 4th down. Like, it's similar to kinda how the Spags defense has been slowly getting picked apart a little bit, where at least Spags is a little more creative in how he goes about sending things, but it's like, it's Tampa, it's very straightforward, it's not super complex, and they just come after you, and you just gotta be able to beat it, and I think that's run out
Let
dry
me
out
check
there.
something,
Honestly,
John.
I would've
Before
fired him. I would've fired him.
I'm just checking something here about Todd Bowles. Is that obviously like we remember the Eagles didn't fire Doug right away. They waited to do it. Jason Licht came from the Eagles. I don't know if he was on the Eagles when they fired Andy.
What's the connection here?
Well, no, I'm thinking that they're not just going to impulsively fire him. I wonder if they're going to do they I think from what I my understanding is from what I've been reading is that they're going to like ask the players like, "Hey, what do you think of Todd, Coach Bowles?"
I
And
mean,
if
they
they're
went
like,
20. Go ahead.
if they're all going to be like, "We love Coach Bowles," it's not his fault, we could have done a better job or whatever. Like if they stick up for him, it might be like with Sirianni in 2023 after they collapsed. The Eagles and the Buccaneers both had very similar collapses this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. It was just
But
hamstrung by their talent. But like this defense, dude, like sucked.
it
20th in
did
points per
suck. I'm
game,
just saying, like,
19th in yards per game, 24th in points per play, 25th in yards per play, 15th in third down conversions, um, 32nd in red zone scoring defense. 32nd. They gave up the highest percentage of touchdowns in the red zone this year. That's not good, man. That is not good that you're relying on just getting a big sack in like midfield to get off the field all the time. And I don't know. I think that's enough for me to fire him, bring in someone else, and let them decide if they want Baker here or not, and like make that decision.
come on, man, I need that take about them being the worst team in the NFL this year, next season, for my arch take to
Yeah, for
be
your
true.
arch take. Yeah,
They need
listen,
to,
I
they
don't think
need to
that's a
keep
bad.
them
Well, it seems like they are.
or
Honestly,
hire
it
Pete
seems like
Carroll.
if they wanted to fire him, they would have by now, and they clearly don't.
I don't know if that's necessarily true because, like, I don't know, man.
Interviews are already getting scheduled, man. Like, you might as well get
Well,
on it.
I mean, like Thursday they fire them. Like I'm
All
saying,
right, we'll see.
I
We'll
guess
see.
I don't know.
Next game of importance, Saturday night for the 1 seed and the NFC West crown. Seattle Seahawks go into San Francisco
I knew
and
after Brock Purdy scored 10 touchdowns in 2 weeks, he was just going to lay an egg that game.
put on a defensive masterclass against the San Francisco 49ers and win 13-3. So, like you said, John, Brock Purdy was coming off some really good games, and he ran into a buzzsaw. That is the Seahawks defense. The Seahawks defense is incredible. It is absolutely good enough to carry what can be a sluggish offense at times to a Super Bowl. I really think the way the Seattle Seahawks are constructed, um, I think it can be a very similar version of what the Eagles were last year. I think offensively, like, everything is kinda downgraded a little, like, a couple notches, for Seattle, but I think every the defense is every bit as good, potentially better than what it was last year for the Eagles, and, we saw how the Eagles got to the Super Bowl. It was 2 really it was very good defensive performances throughout, and the first 2 games where the offense wasn't playing all that great outside of some big splash plays, they were creating a lot of turnovers and they were keeping them in the game. Hurts took a lot of sacks, but it didn't matter. And I think that can be applied to Darnold potentially turning the ball over a couple times, maybe, and Seattle bailing him out on defense, or Darnold taking a couple sacks and then being able to bail it out on defense. So I think they have the right coach. I think they have the right, environment to play in. I think they have good enough weapons around the quarterback on offense that getting a bye week is huge. Getting 1 round off in one of the most wide open playoffs that we've seen in a long time in the NFL. It's definitely nice to not have an extra opportunity to
Well,
potentially
what
lose.
I thought was really impressive with Seattle was their ground game has been inconsistent, I think, all season to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But over the last couple of weeks, I feel like it really has been turning on, because Sam Darnold still he's only played two of the last 12 quarters he's played, and he's looked good.
Yeah. It's a concern. It's a concern, but we're seeing them win without him needing to play all that well against 2 playoff teams. 3 really, actually. 3 straight wins against 3 playoff teams where he didn't play all that great.
I do feel like, man, the Seahawks are just red hot. And, I do think, though, with the bye, I'm wondering if the bye could hurt them potentially because they're playing red hot football on defense. Their ground keeps cooking. Then you take the week off. And then you go, and then you're going to play a team. So they're either going to play the Rams, the Niners, or the Packers. Realistically, it's either going to be the Niners in a revenge game, and then the Rams in another revenge game. That's going to be whoever they play. That's going to be a tough game. Usually, when you have the bye, it feels like you get it's a tough matchup. Or it's a matchup where you have the advantage in, right? Typically, you would say.
Mhm.
Still going to be tough for them, I think. So we'll see it. We'll see. Um, did you feel like, to a certain extent, the Niners' just lack of star power because of injuries felt like it played a massive factor? Like, listen, I know he's like 38 years old, but Trent Williams is still really an important player for the San Francisco 49ers. He's as important to their offense, I think, as like Lane Johnson is as important to the Eagles' offense.
Yeah, I just don't I don't know. I think Seattle's strategy was to kinda not over commit to stopping McCaffrey through the air, and I think that's kind of how their passing game flows at times when the running game isn't working, is using McCaffrey to get the defenses, like, ready for it, and then that's when they kinda take him out over the top, and they were kinda letting him go, and yeah, absolutely, Trent Williams would have helped a lot in that game, but we've seen that offense cook without him. Obviously, he is important, but we've seen it the last few weeks. It be fine without him as long as like the weapons were there. Shanahan was cooking whatever, but what it just ended up being was like uh, just not anything working. They couldn't run the ball well at all. They couldn't throw the ball well at all. It's a legit good defense, and I think Seattle, their defense is gonna be able to hang with anybody. It's almost impossible to think how they gave up so many points to the Rams a couple weeks ago, but, um, you know, I think if they get the Niners again, or if they get Green Bay, they really shouldn't sweat, and I think the I think the Rams game would be a good game for them, a good test for them, but I do think that, Seattle would have to be just a slight favorite for how good that defense is. Depends on the Rams look too, but yeah, so the Niners, they'll be coming here, and the Seahawks get the bye.
I have breaking hockey news.
Okay.
Igor Zamula is now a Columbus Blue Jacket.
Oh,
And
interesting.
Twitter account that we both follow, Get Puck Steep, quote tweeted saying, Zamula Provorov gonna star families.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good unit there.
Sorry.
You're good, you're good.
I mean, there's a lot of this is just slop, dude. So, all
No,
right,
yeah, so looking at the slate, I mean, there's nothing really to talk
I
about.
mean, Browns win the. I mean, listen,
Miles
Browns.
Garrett got the sack record. That's, that's important. That's really
Kudos
cool.
to the Bengals for losing, so they can, actually maybe be in a position to draft like a potential like game changer on defense. There's gonna be so many edges in this draft. They desperately need an edge, especially now they're gonna be cheapos and not pay Trey Hendrickson. He's
Yeah,
you
they
know
need a lot of help.
right. Um, Michael, we talked about this before, so it's got to be like either Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White. Then after them, it's got to be Miles Garrett, right?
Yeah, and Miles Garrett every year is gonna continue to
Am I
keep putting
being
himself.
disrespectful to like other? elite edge rushers we've had. Like I saw Jared Allen. He was saying that he should have gotten the sack record because he had a sack taken from him because Aaron Rodgers muffed a snap. Tried to
Respectfully, Jared Allen doesn't sniff those 3 guys. Jared Allen was
agree.
great, but, like, it's not even close. These are 3 freaks of nature. Um, Reggie White in a 17-game stretch had 32 sacks. It spanned across 3 seasons because of injury. It was included the 21 sack and 12-game season. Yeah, man. I mean, and think about how much less guys were teams were passing back in the day. So it really was him and Lawrence Taylor just like 2 aliens, and I think Myles Garrett lives up to that because the Browns, their s their skill of offense lends them to not facing a lot of pass attempts as a team, and we know that he could count on probably one hand the amount of times this entire season he had, like, one-on-one look without any chip help or anything like that, and he still broke the sack record. I mean, he's a total freak of nature. He is relentless. His get off on that last sack to get the record was, like, ridiculous. He's a freak, man. He's a total freak. Easy first ballot Hall of Famer, and I think I think he's one of those guys that clearly by staying with the Browns, he's gonna focus on his accolades, and ultimately him accumulating accolades is good for the Browns. So yeah, I could see, he's gonna sleepwalk with this defensive player of the year. I could see him getting at least one more, potentially a couple more, by the time his career is over.
I could see him maybe potentially if the Browns were good and he has another season like this year, him potentially stealing a couple MVP votes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, the Browns would have to be good, but, um, yeah, he's awesome. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Nothing
Oh,
else notable really happened besides
like Joe Burrow got hurt in this game. I mean,
he
I don't
came
know, man.
back, right? Like, it
Came
doesn't
back
matter.
in. I'm a little surprised Zach Taylor's still employed too, to be honest with you.
They believe in him. They wrote a whole letter about it.
Yeah, they really no,
I don't think he's the biggest problem there, honestly. And, like, we're not Zach Taylor
it's
guys,
the
but,
owner's
like,
checkbook is the problem.
yeah, I think it's obvious at this point that his offenses are, like, fine enough. It's the defense, So, I think that's where the problems with Zach
So then we
Taylor
get into
come
this
in.
whole like rut of slop.
Yeah, there's nothing to
So
talk about. Like, I'm genuinely just not even.
so we're gonna, if you don't mind, we're just gonna kind of do like the Berman's fastest 3 minute sports. Vikings Packers. JJ McCarthy looked, 9 looked okay. Then he took himself out of the game, and his coach looked pissed. But they didn't matter. They beat the Packers backups 16-3. Hooray, whatever. Giants Cowboys. Giants won. Is this the Giants' first win against the Cowboys since like 2015?
I find that hard to believe, that, like, Dak has never lost to the Giants. And maybe does this even count because, you know?
When
Uh,
you see Dak's record against the NFC East that gets thrown around, all of his
yeah,
losses that he's
they
ever had
haven't
have occurred
lost. I mean,
against
they
the Eagles.
lost in 2021, the end of that year, or the end of 2020, and they were very injured. That was Dak's big injury year. Before that, it wasn't since 2016. So, yeah, I guess it has been a while since they lost. Uh, Dak, I guess, hasn't lost to them since 2016. So,
I love that they took Dak out to make it be like, oh, he didn't lose the full game.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why the Cowboys are losers. All right, Jags Titans. Jags just straight up smack the Tennessee Titans around. The only thing I just saw notable from this game was people bitching about the K balls because Cam Little's a freak of nature, like Brandon Aubrey. He's banging it. He bagged in another super long field goal. This one was from 67. People are complaining, well, if you get a touchback off a kickoff, all you need is 15 yards and you get, 3 points easily. I mean, he's just a freak of nature, man. Let's say you replace the K balls with regular balls. You could probably still drill 60-yard field goals.
Yeah, I mean, he's just ridiculously
He's just a
strong.
really good player. And listen,
Yeah.
Jags, red hot, took care of business. They're the 3 seed. They look a lot better than the Denver Broncos right now, Michael. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
All right, next game, Colts Texans. Listen, the Colts lost 8 straight games to end the season. The owner had a meeting, like a press conference, saying we're bringing back both Ballard and Steichen, but the pressure's on. But man,
I mean, listen, Daniel Jones got hurt and the whole thing kind of went to garbage. It was already starting to turn, and then he really got hurt, and it was like, okay, now it's all over. And like Sauce kept getting banged up. It's tough. They took a gamble and it blew up in their faces with bad luck. Like ultimately, that's what it was. Like it wasn't, oh, Daniel Jones just sucked. And like again, he was on his way to not playing as well for a handful of weeks, but he tore his Achilles, and all of a sudden, Jonathan Taylor couldn't run anywhere, and the entire offense was just cooked. But yeah, the Texans get their win, lock themselves into the 5, and they'll play Pittsburgh. What's next?
Jets Bills.
Yeah, nothing to talk about here. Closed
The
Highmark
only
Stadium.
thing I want to
Yeah.
bring up is this: is that the Jets not having an interception all year. That might be one
Oh
of the
yeah,
most pathetic statistics I've ever seen.
it's historic. Might never happen again. It's the first time this has happened since 1933, where the team passing the highest amount of passes or passing yards leader was like 973. 970. No one threw for 1,000 yards in 1933. And every year after that, someone had thrown an interception. So pretty insane. Probably you'll never ever see that again. Truly remarkable.
Do you want to really do Bears Lions, man?
And we talked about it a little bit. The Bears couldn't move the ball all that effectively. Detroit came to play, and Bears missed a kick, and the Lions were making theirs, and that's kind of the story. That's all. It was very nondescript
What
game.
did you think about Ben Johnson taking a shot at the Eagles after losing that game? Going, oh well, we played our stars unlike some other teams.
Yeah, that was weird.
Ben Johnson, I think Ben Johnson just hates the Eagles, low key. I'm not saying that be a homer. I think he saw them win the Super Bowl. He's like, oh, well, I have this genius scheme, and Sirianni's an idiot, so I should be.
I don't know if it's necessarily against the Eagles. I just think that's kind of the personality that he has in
I
general.
mean, after they beat the Eagles, he ripped his shirt off and was celebrating in the locker room.
It's a big win. You beat the reigning Super Bowl champs. That's
Oh, it is a big
on.
win. I'm just thinking, why is he not doing that against
They didn't have as big of a win as beating the Eagles on the road, and that's pretty, I think, inarguable. So I just think that's the kind of guy he is. I think he's a bit of an asshole, bit of a like cockier guy, bit of a high intensity guy.
man?
Um,
What's up with Bo Nix barely outplaying Trey Lance in this game?
oh, you moved to the Broncos, Chargers. Um, yeah, I mean, Bo Nix isn't very good, and I think we'll get to doing talking about the playoffs next week. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who comes up to Denver.
Denver is the 1 seed. They did secure it, but man, dude, they. I don't think this is a case of Sean Payton not wanting to tip his hand before the playoffs,
Hmm.
because we already saw with metrics all the meat the Broncos offense leaves on the bone, so to
Hmm.
speak. Like Troy Franklin would be a top 20 receiver if the passes thrown his way were catchable. We'll talk about that this weekend, but man, I don't know. I'm not feeling very. I'm feeling a little uneasy with them. I do need in a block pool Broncos Texans. to be a matchup to win money. So,
Oh, okay. Okay. I
so
like that one. I'll tell you. Um, but yeah, are we at
Chiefs
Sunday night
Raiders.
yet? Oh, no.
You
Okay.
know, Chiefs Raiders. Chiefs. The Raiders won, but luckily for them, for the Raiders, the let me pull up Tankathon one more time.
The Giants lost. That was the big
The
one.
Giants beat
Or Giants won. That's right. Yeah, Giants won. So it hurt them. That was the big one.
the way everything like ebbed out for the end of the year. I'll say this: the Raiders got super lucky that the Giants won a meaningless game against the Cowboys because the Giants went from picking first overall to fifth overall. That's just insane.
Yeah, big miss there. Big loss there for them. Um, but yeah, what's next?
Not talking about Travis Kelsey's last game.
He didn't retire yet.
We,
He didn't retire yet.
3 catches for 12 yards. Went out with the whimper, not with the bang. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, he played with, Chris Olodokun and
Of course, I know. I'm just
Shane
saying.
Leckler, or whatever the hell his name
Okay,
is.
so Cardinals, Rams. Stafford, I know you don't want him to be MVP. He threw 4 tutties in this game.
It would be messed up if he won MVP. Like, I get it. Historians would look back and be like, how did he only threw 46 touchdowns, 8 picks, and he didn't win the MVP? And it's like, he threw a lot of 1-yard touchdowns. I'm sorry, he did. And, like, that's just not as impressive as, like, anything else. It felt like they were just farming a lot of passing touchdowns for him. I think the way the odds moved were really wrong. We saw Stafford was like a pretty solid favorite, and then he plays an absolute stinker, sucks, multiple interceptions against the Atlanta Falcons, and they lose, and it eliminates them essentially from, or does eliminate them from winning the division, and forces them into a wild card. And that same week, Drake May throws 5 touchdowns against the bad defense, 5 touchdowns, dominates, and did that clinch the division for them? It did. So clinches the division there. This week, Matthew Stafford plays great, lights up a terrible defense, throws 4 touchdowns. Really nice way to end the season. But like Drake May also, point being, the previous week, the odds moved from Stafford being a heavy favorite. He has the bad game, and they get even favored Drake May. And now Drake May plays a really good game while Stafford also plays a really good game. And now Stafford's the favorite. We didn't up Drake May's odds because he threw 5 touchdowns against the Jets as much as we did because Stafford laid an egg. Drake May didn't lay an egg. He shouldn't have gotten dinged from being a favorite because he,
Well,
played well.
MVP is not who had the best passing season. It's who's the most valuable player to their team. And
That is not Matthew Stafford. I'll tell you that right now. That is Puka Nakua.
I was gonna just say, like, this isn't like a Joe Montana, Jerry Rice deal where Joe Montana won 2 Super Bowls before Jerry Rice was ever there. Like Puka Nakua legit like kind of bails out Stafford at times with like.
Listen, he's just incredible, and he's the best player on that
What about
team.
Devontae
And
Adams just being wide open every time in the red zone?
he's the freest 1-yard touchdown ever. That's my point. And like Drake May, that whole storyline before the season was, oh, the schedule's not too bad, but who knows? That offense really has nothing
I
besides
never got
Drake
the
May.
vibe from Stafford this year where like the Rams were down like double digits and he just puts on like a masterclass in the fourth quarter and they come back and win. Where you look at Drake May, like the Bills game, uh,
Signature wins. There, he had signature wins,
like
and you didn't
Cesar has like
feel that.
signature losses this year. Like you look at the
Right,
Rams, like losing to the Panthers, he losing to the Eagles. He was bad in that Eagles game.
right.
Losing to the Seahawks wasn't really his fault.
I mean, I think narratives should matter in the MVP. They do matter. We think about 2023. Lamar did not have the best stats that season at all, but he was very valuable to that Ravens team, and the advanced metrics favored him. and his impact could not have been outweighed. I mean, the perfect example was the 2 MVP favorites, frontrunners, were Lamar and Brock Purdy, and it was all coming down to one Christmas night matchup between the 2 teams, and it was really like whoever plays better and wins the game is going to win the MVP. And Lamar Jackson puts on a masterclass, and Brock Purdy throws 5 interceptions, and that was it, signed, sealed, delivered. Why wasn't Matthew Stafford, and Brock Purdy had, like, considerably better stats than Lamar Jackson that season. Why wasn't Stafford's stinker the nail in the coffin? To me,
We are, man.
yeah, it is. It's a lifetime achievement award, like you said. It's a career achievement award. It's a, congrats, you're going to Canton one day, but this'll
Well,
this'll
it's
really
gonna be
help your
like the I
case.
what I consider this, it's not even so much like a lifetime achievement award. It's a correction. Stafford was undervalued a lot during his prime years. So we got to give him this award as the AP like the media votes on the award because we overlooked him. So now we're gonna when he has a good season now, we're gonna have to give him this award.
Yeah, I mean, it's their way of saying he was always really good, it turns out, but we could never acknowledge a ton to a guy that was on a 5-win Lions team all the time. And you know, again, traditionally, you just wanna look at some box score stats. You'd think he's a slam dunk MVP, not even close. But when you actually
Well,
dig into
Justin
some
Herbert's
metrics
only
and
been in
stat,
2 Pro Bowls.
yeah, and when you dig into some metrics with the MVP race, Drake May definitely clears. And I think, it's tough. That's tough. That's a really impressive MVP for Drake May to get in his second year if he could get it with that roster not being that good. We would look back and be like, wow, that Patriots roster had a whole lot of nothing on it. And then you look at the Rams.
This Patriots team would be the Panthers if you took Drake May and put Bryce Young in that spot, in my opinion.
Like, yeah, yes, honestly, yeah, it's a pretty good comp, I'd say. Um, for sure. I mean, Drake May does a lot under pressure well. He does a lot like he just turns a lot of his okayness around him into really, really effective, and that's valuable. It's the definition of it. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how the playoffs turn out. It doesn't really matter, but the fact that they're still letting you bet on the MVP to me is a little fishy. Shouldn't it be taken down? Why wouldn't it be taken down? So we'll see. But that'll take us to Sunday night.
Wow.
Steelers Ravens in like the most classic AFC North classic there ever was. It was pretty much slop for most of the game, and then all of a sudden, both teams could not be stopped. Lamar made some really nice throws and some really nice plays after not being all that good for most of the game, and then Rodgers and Steelers receivers were getting open, and the ball was just ping ponging back and forth, touchdown, touchdown, being traded, and it
I think
culminates.
this game is literally, I think, the perfect summary for the Ravens season.
Yeah, yeah, it culminates ultimately in Chidobe Awuzie slipping on a double move from Calvin Austin, who ends up wide open for the go-ahead touchdown after Lamar completes a nice deep ball to Zay Flowers on a good design, and Chris Boswell misses, and it might have gotten tipped an extra point, the first extra point the Steelers have missed in years, Sean. It's been years since the Steelers have missed an extra point, and it felt like, wow, they're gonna lose because that's their first missed extra point since
Well, remember
2023.
Boswell shanked that 2 games in a row the Steelers get lucky with like missing easy kicks
Mhm. Yeah,
and
so he
getting bailed
misses.
out at the end.
Yeah, so Lamar goes the other way down the field and
Well, you bring
has
up
a
turnover, like you've brought up turnover luck. Is this like what would you just call this with the Steelers,
I
man?
I I don't know. It's just what and Lamar converts the huge 4th down, with a great play and a great throw and a great catch by Isaiah Likely. They're in field goal range. It's not the easiest field goal in the world, but it's something that needs to be made, and, eh, just the definition of the pressure getting too much for the kicker because that was a flat out miss right off the foot. It wasn't even close, and it never had a chance. As soon as he kicked it, he knew he missed it, and that's you know he was scouted and he was drafted right by the Ravens, and like they held a lot of pride. They said they took a lot of interviews with him and felt that he had the mental makeup of the right stuff to be an NFL kicker on a good team that's going to be kicking in big moments. And he misses it. He misses it. The game winner, very makeable. Steelers would have been out. Ravens would have been in, but vice versa. Steelers hang on, win by 2.
I mean, you look at I have Tyler Loop's stats pulled up. So from 20 to 29 yards, 10 for 10, 30 from 39 yards, 11 of 11, 40 to 49, 8 of 9. That's the
One
game.
miss, man. One miss. He's not a bad kicker. It's
But
just a
from
tough miss.
50 yards, one for 4.
Yeah, not a lot of attempts. Obviously, not a lot of makes, but uh, simply just missing it in a bad spot. Something he needs
I
to
know
learn
Tucker. I
from.
mean, listen, I don't want to spend too much time and talk about creepy, Justin Tucker. But when he was in his prime, those were the kicks that he was like guaranteed to make. You
Well,
know,
sure, but
you know,
he's
he's not
started
there.
sucking, and yeah.
I
So
think that's this is why that game was the perfect microcosm, like a perfect microcosm of the Ravens season. They look like they get down early, they start coming back. Lamar's making some big plays. You think they're going to win, and then just a really bad mistake to end the season. I mean, listen, man, like there's just so much talent on that team still. Like that's the mind boggling thing.
yeah, it's the talent has become more concentrated. Um, it's just Lamar didn't have a great season. He was never really healthy all season either, and I think, like we've talked about at length, the John Harbaugh message kind of went sour, and they're due, I think, for an offensive refresh to get things back on track because obviously we're it's a great quarterback in there, and really good running back. That was great. And listen, you were a missed kick away from going to the playoffs. We don't think they would have done anything there, but you know, still had every opportunity to get in. Um, which that wraps up the regular season. That wraps up week 18. So let's at least uh talk about the playoff bracket. We don't need to go into the specific matchups, but we do have the seedings and the bracket and the matchups
I
for the
was
wild
actually
card
going to
round.
counter because we won't do another show until Saturday. I think we save
Yeah.
the bracket till Saturday's show, and we briefly talk about the Final Four of college football.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're just okay. So we have games Thursday and Friday, right? Semifinals before the national championship on
Thursday's
the
Miami,
19th.
Ole Miss. Friday
Yeah,
is Oregon and Indiana.
work on. Um, yeah, yeah. Mm, the games have been kind of a stinker. That's always the risk with college football. Obviously, the Ole Miss Georgia game was awesome, but the other 3, well, the other 2, the Miami Ohio State game was fine, but the other 2 were pretty terrible. How about or wait, no, it was Miami Ohio State. Miami went into Ohio State and won nicely, but
Mm-hmm.
Oregon really handled their business. That was a pretty dominant performance from start to finish, and Alabama got absolutely spanked by Indiana. Really great performance from Indiana. It was close early. If Alabama felt like if they were able to capitalize and score, they could have kept that game in it a little bit, but they ended up just getting absolutely ravaged. Indiana could not. Alabama didn't seem like they wanted to tackle, right? And then, the night game was a classic. What were your thoughts on it?
My thought. So, on what exactly? Which one? Which game?
On the all of it, on the
I was
playoff.
very surprised by Ole Miss. They're like. See, this is what I think the NCAA wants. I think Ole Miss, in a way, kind of a Cinderella story.
Mhm.
So is Miami I think Miami is too to a certain extent. Miami's probably more talked about if Carson Beck wasn't so bad.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Carson Beck's been pretty good this year, at least. I know, like, he didn't end his Georgia tenure all that great when he got banged up, but I thought he's been pretty good, man. I don't know. He seems to make the big throws you need to make, and for college, it seems like it plays. I think they.
I would say more or less in like big games. I feel like you look at a lot of their Miami losses, he just played bad in them.
Sure.
I
I
mean,
mean,
Carson Beck is kind of overhated, I think, though. I'm kind of giving him a hard time here. I mean, 27 tutties, 10 picks, only been sacked 13 times.
mhm,
I do think though Miami just matches up so well with Ole Miss. Trinidad Chambliss, I think, is like the story of the college football playoffs.
mhm.
Played for Incarnate. I think Incarnate Word.
I'm not
No,
sure.
no, he played for like Division 2, and then transferred. He was one of the Temple. He was going to go to Temple.
Mhm,
Like the Temple offered him 300 grand in NIL money to come be the starting quarterback for them this year. Then he changed, went to Ole Miss as a backup, came in like the third game, and then obviously the Lane Kiffin bailing on them. You know,
mhm.
going to LSU. I think that's going to be a very fun game. Obviously, I think the game that everyone's going to look at, it's going to be Indiana, Oregon. Oregon, I feel like just lose
Rematch of them earlier in the season.
match other year, but man, Oregon just this is going to be like I think like I say defying expectations. I feel like they just poop the bed a lot in like big games like this. And you look
Yeah.
at Indiana. Indiana's just like a machine almost. Kurt Signetti. Listen, the moment he started talking, the moment his name was just floated out as like the next Penn State head coach, they immediately just gave him a ton of money.
Yeah. No, he's been great. Indiana's been great. I think Miami's got a good shot to win the whole thing. I'm more excited for that Indiana. Well, I shouldn't say that, but if that Ole Miss Miami game, if their two first
Well,
games are
I
any
think
kind of
one
shape.
aspect of Indiana and Oregon, that's interesting is Fernando Mendoza, and Dante Moore could go 1-2 in the NFL draft. And
Hmm.
it's not that often when the top two QBs that get picked first and second overall play each other in a game in general,
Right.
let alone the semifinal in the college football playoffs. And a lot of people think whoever's going to win Oregon, Indiana is going to win the national title.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we can't count out that other side of the bracket. I'm not count. I like Miami, man. Their defense is legit. But no, I hear you. It's definitely going to be it's some fun storylines, some fun narratives, and I'm excited. It should be a great weekend of football. But
I'm sorry, did you really want to talk about the bracket for the NFL?
no, I mean, it was more just going to be like the seeding of it. But we can do that Saturday. That works.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
do.
makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our show for tonight, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll see you again Saturday.
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.